Hello and welcome to Glaze's Geezer Garage. In this episode, we're going to talk about a friend of mine who came over to visit my shop, Mitch. I'm sure you Corvette guys know who he is. He does a lot of birdcage work, does a lot of fiberglass work on these C2 Corvettes or these mid-year Corvettes. He came over, evaluated the birdcage, looked at the fiberglass work, talked about what he would recommend. So we're going to go through and talk about those recommendations. What Mitch decided, and we decided, I had kind of marked for him because I noticed this, but this front end has been clipped in right here where I have the tape on both sides. You'll see someone has put a new clip on the front end. I believe that this car was a road race car because if you look at the rear wheel wells, they've been cut out and the front ones have been cut out. And then they've been repaired and replaced. It also looks like the front end had damage. If you look real close down here, on these Corvettes, there's typically a marker right here, but they've been shaved off. And you can see here, there's damage here. On both sides are shaved off, which leads me to believe again that it probably was a road race car. They did that for aerodynamic purposes. So what Mitch recommended is that we cut, because the clip is damaged, that we cut this clip off right here, which gives us easier access to remove the fiberglass from the door frame pillar here, the birdcage here, and remove all this. And we're going to be putting a brand new complete front end on this. Mitch evaluated exactly what I did, is that the window frame is actually in really good shape. There's a little bit of surface rust here, but overall it's very solid all the way up. The drip rails all the way across the top. He checked underneath. He said it looked solid under there. So he's pretty happy with that. So this window frame is very solid. He said the doors, birdcage around the door is very solid. The drip rails are damaged. As you can see, rust here, but these drip rails can be removed. But it looks like the birdcage under the drip rails are very solid until you get down to here. Now here, what I'm going to do, since these quarters were already patched in, they were rounded out like this for the race car, and then they were back in. We're going to go ahead and remove the quarters. There's a seam line right down through here. We're going to replace these quarters, and at the same time, we're going to remove this door jamb here and this door jamb. We're going to do this on both sides because that's going to make it easier to get to the rocker. Because the rockers are damaged, as Mitch said, we're going to replace both rockers, full rockers. That's about it. So this side is this drip rails is a little more damaged, a little weight reduction here, but you can see the main birdcage is still pretty solid. So we'll remove this drip rail. As you can see here, we have another rust hole here where the old drip rail came down here. We're going to do the same thing. We'll remove this quarter, remove this door jamb back here and the front one, and we'll replace this full rocker underneath here also. So yeah, it's about what I evaluated. I really appreciate Mitch coming out and giving his expert advice. He understands that I've decided to do this work, but he said if you need help, let him know. He would kind of coach me along or even come over. I'm sure I'll have to give him a fee. But anyway, very, very knowledgeable guy. Really appreciate it, Mitch. Thanks for coming over. Hey folks, what we're going to do here today, evaluated the inner fender wells, the front end, but what I'm going to do today here is clean up any of these fender wells are shot, they're cracked all over. I'm going to strip off any of the brackets that may be useful in the future for me or for someone else. I'm doing a resto mod, so I may not have all the things that are exactly in the same place as an original 63 split window coupe. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna strip this out today and try to get the door hinges apart. I have a kit ordered, a pin kit, a pin and bushing kit. So anyway, stay with me and see what we can get done. I was able to strip out 3 brackets. This is the bracket for the radiator overflow can. This bracket was on the driver's side. I'm guessing that was the windshield washer bottle, but I can't be sure. You guys correct me. Like I said, I'm new at this, but I'll figure out what this is. But if you guys know what that is, I think it's the window washer bottle. And this was an extra support bracket for the hood. Support bracket for the hood. So salvage those. One of the things that Mid-Year Mitch mentioned when he was here, with a lot of M's, Mid-Year Mitch mentioned, a little tongue twister. But anyway, one thing he mentioned was me adding a brace from here to here when I start pulling this fiberglass off. The issue is, and he talked about it too, was we don't know if this body might have been, at least the floor section might have been tweaked a little bit because the frame was rusted so bad. Basically, the frame was rusted in 2 on this side. So what I'm going to do, he also thought it was a good idea, was I'm going to rebuild the door hinges, which I have the parts ordered for the pins and bushings. I'm going to remount the doors, make sure this body is lined up and not twisted. If it is, I'll straighten it. Then I'll build bracing so that when we pull it apart, it won't get twisted up. So keep everything lined up the way it's supposed to be with the doors lined up. So first thing I'm going to do is strip the door hinges apart and be ready for the kit I ordered. It's going to come in a day or so. Here we go. It looks like the best way to do this is to put in a vise with the bottom of the pin up, of course. Looks like I can drive it back out. Just so you know, I'm also going to be replacing the door hinge, I don't know what you call them, springs. It's spring steel. They're a little wore out and rusted. But you can order that kit and rivet them in, so I've ordered that too. I'm going to strip these down, clean them up, sandblast them, get them primed up, and get them rebuilt. I want to show you guys what we're talking about when these things are wore out. I can take this, let me just chuck the one portion up in the vise, show you how much this thing's wiggling. You can actually hear it. It's probably at least out at the end, I'm going to say at least an 1/8 inch movement. So it doesn't seem like they're worn out, but when you get an 1/8 inch here, what's that mean 3 feet away at the back of your door jamb? That's a lot. I guess I could do a calculation, but I'm not going to. But anyway, what I found the best way was to chuck up the heavy duty portion of the hinge like this, with the bottom of the pin up, of course, like I mentioned before. Then I simply take a drift pin, get it in the center, whack it a few times. Drops right out. Yeah, you can definitely see wear in that. Probably most of the wear is going to be in the bushing. Pop this off. Takes a little bit of, pop that off. I just take that same drift pin, get it, make sure you get it down on the edge of that. You got to catch that edge. You got to make sure you have a really squared off drift pin. Catch the edge hard, give it a couple whacks, it pops right out. See that? It popped right out. Flip it over. Same thing. I like to take a longer one because I got room in the hole. Pops right out. So that's the last one. Next thing I'm going to do is grind these rivets off and get these springs off here. So here we go. So I played around with grinding these and also tried drilling them out. Drilling seems to be the cleaner way to do it, basically so I don't put grinding dust all over my shop. So I've chosen to drill them out. Doesn't take too long. It's a pretty clean job of doing it too. So let's get at it. Well, that's another short video, and I want to apologize to everybody for the short videos. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I told you guys that ran into some personal issues. Have a close relative who fell ill, and he was liquidating his business. He had a physical shop that they were moving equipment out of and selling some of the equipment, and we needed to clean that shop up because his lease was coming up. So I've been doing that, and that takes priority over the YouTube channel. I apologize. I've thrown out some shorts out there and some short videos with a little bit of content that I could squeeze in. But I promise you next week, we are going to have full content. As you can see from this video, I talked about stripping the fiberglass off, getting down to the rockers and the bird cage, taking the rear quarters off. So we're going to have a lot of content next week. I'm going to be going full bore on this thing the rest of this week and next week. So looking forward to it. Again, we apologize. We're going to have a lot more content coming up. Looking forward to shooting some video with you guys.